Hello and welcome back to the same old Arsenal Extra Time. I'm your host, Harry Simiu. Now, you'll have to excuse the background noise because my neighbours decided it'll be a good time to turn on the drill just as we go live. Right. Feeling a little bit downbeat. Of course, it's understandable after last night's result. We're going to be reflecting on the game in the Wanda Metropolitano, of course. Arsene Wenger's farewell tour continued with the latest destination being Madrid. And you know what? This semi-final offered him the perfect opportunity to set up the dream ending to his tenure at Arsenal, a European final in his home country. But it just wasn't meant to be. I think I'm right in saying he made 8 changes from the team that went to Old Trafford. But we were rocked early on when skipper Laurent Koscielny went off with an Achilles problem that's haunted him pretty much all season, and his performances have dipped as a consequence. There's no doubt about that. If I'm being honest, I fear that this may be the end for Laurent Koscielny. Who knows how much he's got left in the tank and whether he can actually bounce back from this. Now, we looked pretty comfortable up until just before half-time, stoppage time of the first half, when a lapse in concentration cost us dearly. Hector Bellerin seemed to not realise that Diego Costa had pulled out wide and just completely lost track of where the Spanish striker was, or Brazilian, whatever you want to call him. And he ended up getting through on goal and lifting the ball over David Ospina, who seemed so eager to get down to the ground that I just can't understand it. It's sort of as though he made the striker's mind up for him. Look, Atletico aren't the most technically gifted team in the tournament, but what they are is they're streetwise, and that's something that we're not. It's extremely disappointing to lose to a team who probably weren't better than us in terms of football, but they were certainly, what's the word? I've used streetwise already, but, they were more tactically aware. They were more passionate. There was so many things you could say about them, and so much praise you can heap on Diego Simeone for the job he's done. I guess the criticism of our team, in my opinion, since last night has been a little bit excessive. I thought we played well. I thought we created chances, sort of half chances anyway. I thought we kept possession well for long stages. We defended well for long stages of the game. So it all comes down to the final finish, doesn't it? It comes down to finishing when it matters, defending well when it matters, and obviously concentrating when things get a little bit tough. And that's something that these players have shown that they just simply can't do. You can point the finger at Arsene Wenger all you like, but I don't think there's many who would have picked a different team to the one that started last night. If you would have, feel free to mention in the comments what changes you would have made, because I know I toyed with the idea of Ainsley Maitland-Niles coming in. Perhaps, that could have made a difference. He could have made us perhaps more solid in the middle of the park, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Jack Wilshere lacks physically. So that's an interesting one. I don't think I would have started Mavropanos as much as I was impressed with him at Old Trafford. I think it's still early days for him, and it would have been a step too far. Now, I'm going to go on to the player ratings, see what you guys think. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the ratings that I'm going to give, of course, in the comments below. All for the debate. Glad to hear it. So make sure you get yourselves involved. Right, we're going to start with David Ospina in goal, who I will give a 6 out of 10. Wasn't terrible, but he put us under pressure multiple times with poor clearances, and that's something I've praised Ospina for in the past. His distribution, in my view, is usually better than Petr Cech's, but there was a couple of incidents yesterday where he seemed to put us under increased pressure because of poor clearances, because of being indecisive regarding what he should do with the ball. And so Ospina for me gets a 6. Now Hector Bellerin. Where do I begin? I'm going to give Hector Bellerin a 4 out of 10. As I mentioned in the introduction, I felt he was at fault for the goal. Completely lost track of where Diego Costa was. Maybe he tucked in a little too narrow. But you know what? If you do tuck in, that's fine. Maintain the unit, but you need to be aware of what's on the outside of you. And he certainly wasn't aware. of Diego Costa's presence there. Another thing I want to say about Hector Bellerin is his reluctance to beat a man these days. It is so frustrating. You know, it's something I've been saying for a while now, and other people have been saying. It's not just me, it's a common thing. Hector Bellerin seems to pick up the ball, and he's got plenty of space in front of him. And whereas Hector Bellerin of 2 seasons ago would have carried the ball forward into the space, confidently taken on his man and put a ball into the box, he seems to be reluctant to do so nowadays. And it's as though he gets into those situations and he just wants to turn back inside and lay it square, the safe option, if you like. And that's something that I'm growing increasingly frustrated with. On the other side, Nacho Monreal. I'm going to give Nacho a 5. I'm a big fan of Nacho, but I thought he was sloppy yesterday. I thought he was bullied at times by Diego Costa, couldn't handle his physicality. And where Nacho is usually so reliable in attacking positions, in the sense that he's able to pull off a nice pass, you know, pull the ball back. We've seen him do it plenty of times. He's even been getting on the score sheet quite a bit this season. I thought he was particularly wasteful in some really interesting situations that we found ourselves in. Now, Laurent Koscielny, it's impossible to give him a rating because he was only on the pitch for 18 minutes. It's a reoccurrence of the Achilles problem that's plagued him for ages. And as I said at the top of the show, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to come back from this. So I'm not going to give Laurent Koscielny a rating, but I'm going to give Callum Chambers an 8. Callum Chambers, who came on, you know, he wouldn't have been expecting to have to take part so early on in the game, but I thought he'd done absolutely brilliantly, and I would say he was probably our best player on the pitch, in my opinion. He battled hard. He wasn't fazed by Diego Costa, kept up with Griezmann when necessary, and he's been much improved, particularly in this last 2 games. So well done to Callum Chambers. Shkodran Mustafi, decent game, in my opinion. Struggled at times with Costa's physicality, but then again, who doesn't? I thought him and Chambers as a pair defended particularly well, and particularly in the second half when we were chasing a goal and it seemed as though the rest of our team weren't interested in defending. Just going to head over and have a quick look at your comments before I move on to the midfield. Alex Hunter says, it's easy in hindsight, but Kosh shouldn't have been playing. Coaches must know that his problems are going to put his Achilles under tremendous strain and could ping at any moment. Alex, I completely agree with you. If a player's not fit, you know, then he shouldn't be on the pitch. It's as simple as that. But I think it displays the lack of confidence that Arsene Wenger has in some of his other options, and I think that's the root of the problem. The Atheist says, players can only talk the talk. They're giving them all for the manager, but can't walk the walk. Mistakes have cost us all season. Bellerin is Bellerin because he has no competition for his place. Completely agree with that. I mean, there is no other right back at Arsenal, is there? We've seen Callum Chambers play there on the odd occasion, but for me, Hector Bellerin is the only candidate, and therefore it's easy to get sloppy, isn't it? Let's have a quick look. The Atheist also says Lucas Perez is out on loan. We'll get to the attackers in a minute. We'll just move on to the midfield now. So Jack Wilshere, I've given him a 5 out of 10. Probably going to get some stick for this, but I still think he just doesn't look quite right physically. He just seems slow. He seems as though he's running with sandbags tied to his ankles at times, and his lack of mobility lets him down, in my opinion. Now, I was particularly upset with the fact that he was given the captain's armband when Koscielny went off. Now, the reason for that is because this is a player who's yet to commit his future to the club. He's yet to sign on the dotted line. Now, whatever your thoughts are on that, a player whose future is uncertain, in my opinion, should not even be on the pitch unless he's so invaluable to the team. But he certainly shouldn't be the captain, and that's something that gets on my nerves. I don't think Jack Wilshere showed us anything last night apart from petulance when he picked up a yellow card. So Jack Wilshere, 5 out of 10. Granit Xhaka, thought he started the game well. Protected the space between the back four and the midfield, in which Griezmann likes to operate pretty well early on. Rarely gave the ball away in the first half, but looked exposed when his mobility again was put to the test, particularly after Mkhitaryan came on for Wilshere, because there was no longer that cover, and I think it made him look a lot worse. Granit Xhaka, 6 out of 10 for me. Just not consistent enough. We saw a good half from him at Old Trafford. In the second half on Sunday. We saw a good half from him last night, but he can't seem to do it for a whole 90 minutes, and that's a big, big problem. Aaron Ramsey, Aaron Ramsey. What am I going to give Aaron Ramsey? I'm going to go with a 6 again. I thought he worked hard up and down as usual, left to right. Always does work hard and always works for the cause, but had one of his off nights. There was one chance that fell to him and he just couldn't seem to get it out of his feet. And from then on, I knew it wasn't going to be his night. Some key passes went astray. But Aaron Ramsey, you can never fault his effort. And so for that reason, he's not going to get any lower than a 6 from me. Mesut Ozil, taking a lot of stick today. A lot of stick, and I think most of that was fueled by Martin Keown's comments on BT Sport after the match, where he said that fella is not kidding me, that is not giving everything. Now, it's a difficult one. It's a really difficult one with Mesut Ozil, because Mesut Ozil likes to play provider. We all know that. But he doesn't have the ability, in my view, to take a game by the scruff of its neck and do something himself, like a Kevin De Bruyne can, like an Eden Hazard can. You know, take the ball and go and make something happen. He's always relying on the finish of someone else. And unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have quality around him, and that's plain to see. You know, but this is a build-up of frustration around this player. It's not something that's just from last night. This has stemmed from a couple of years now of inconsistent performances. And when he's being paid 350 grand a week, you know, you've got to question it. You've got to question it. We're entitled to. Of course we are. But a friend of mine made an interesting comment today regarding Mesut Ozil. And he says, you know, if Lacazette buries that chance that he has in the first half, and Aaron Ramsey scores the one that fell to him as well, then we're all talking about how great Mesut Ozil is again. So he shows the fine margins we're talking about. Ozil, for me, gets a 6. Danny Welbeck, 5. Didn't have to think too long about this one. Danny Welbeck gets a 5. In the first leg, I thought he caused Atletico problems with his running. I thought he done really well in the sense that he was starting from the touchline and coming inwards into the space, because we know that Atletico like to defend very narrow. Thomas Partey is not a right back by trade, but he's played a game and 82 minutes in that position against us, and we've not exposed it. We've not exposed it. That should have been the one area of the pitch that Arsenal should have been going at and trying to expose. You know, we knew after the first leg that we needed to play with width, and we just didn't do it. Danny Welbeck was too central for me at times yesterday. I couldn't quite work out what he was trying to do. I don't know if he was trying to get him more involved in the play, but he seemed to find himself in and around the centre circle too often. And for me, that isn't where he was capable of doing any damage. Now, Alex Lacazette, I'm going to give him a 4. He offered absolutely nothing. There was no movement. He had that one opportunity in the first half where he seemed to hesitate and the angle eventually closed. I thought he hid last night. Disappointing, because he's been good in front of goal lately, and particularly in the first leg where he affected the game so much. You know, I expected him to be pivotal again last night, but it just wasn't going to happen, was it? Mkhitaryan, again, he came on as a substitute. I'm going to give him a 6. He went close with a decent effort, which went just over the bar, although I think Jan Oblak may have had it covered. Had a few lively moments, up the urgency a little bit when he came on, but had no real impact. Now, I've spoken, when I've mentioned lots of players tonight, about the lack of width. And for me, that is a massive issue with this Arsenal team. We always try and play down the middle. And when you're playing a defence like Atletico, who are so strong in the core, it's particularly difficult to do so. So I don't understand why we continue to try that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We're going to go over to the comments now. Azra Ahmed says the defense was bad. Panic mode anytime they attacked. I agree. But I think, you know, when a team are playing at home and the crowd are roaring as they attack, you know, you can feel more nervous than you actually need to be. I mentioned that in the second half in particular, when we were chasing the goal, there was a couple of times where it ended up sort of 2-on-3 situations where Griezmann and Diego Costa seemed to be counter-attacking by themselves. So I see what you mean. There was a couple of dodgy moments there, but I thought overall we defended okay. Don't know what you guys think about that. Stephen Overy says we lost it in the first leg. Keep the faith. Completely agree. That game was lost in the first leg. The damage was done when we made that awful mistake towards the end, and Lauren Koscielny completely made a mess of things, kicked the ball against his own face, and Griezmann was able to finish. The Atheist says, I can't even understand why we sold Giroud if we knew Aubameyang couldn't play in the Europa. It's difficult because we were all chuffed when Aubameyang came. If you're asking me whether I think we'd have been more effective with Giroud in this competition, I'd have to say yes, because I think he would have scored in the first leg when crosses were coming into the box constantly, and I think he could have been a real threat yesterday. So in that sense, I totally agree with what you're saying, but in the long term, it looks as though Aubameyang might be a little bit more useful and have a little bit more about him. Wilshere was poor, Ozil was terrible, Ramsey was bad. Why not start Mkhitaryan? Now, I'll be honest, I wouldn't have started Mkhitaryan before the game because I was concerned about the prospect of going to the Wanda Metropolitano with Ozil and Mkhitaryan in the same team, two luxury players. I know Mickey's worked harder than I thought he would have since he's come to Arsenal, but he's still not a defensive-minded player, and I feel as though it was a risk not worth taking. In my view, Wilshere might go to City. I can't see it somehow. I don't think City would sign him. I really don't. I don't think he's good enough to play for City. You know, if there's interest from Wolves, Jack, and you don't want to sign a deal, mate, on your bike, you know, sign a deal, because you're not going to find a bigger club than Arsenal that are going to take you. Azra Ahmed says, Wenger gives the armband out like it's given out in kids' games. Completely agree. Players who do not want to play for this football club cannot be wearing the armband. You know, you might say Jack Wilshere wants to play for this football club. Well, if he does, why has he not signed on the dotted line? What is he waiting for? What is he waiting for? You know, we know there's a substantial offer on the pitch. On the table. We know a new offer was tabled just a couple of days ago. So why is he not agreeing to it? Why is he not doing it? If he loves Arsenal as much as people say he is. Keown was spot on. I'm sick of players being allowed to go missing. Agree. Keown was spot on. I thought Keown went a little bit overboard, though, if I'm being honest. I don't think Mesut Ozil was the reason that we didn't qualify. I thought over the 2 legs he created enough, but unfortunately we weren't able to take things. Let's see what else we've got here. Why are we blaming Koscielny? What about the attackers who did not finish their chances? Yeah, agree. We should be looking at the attackers for not finishing their chances. Laurent Koscielny made errors, no doubt about that. One particularly big error in the first leg, which I think is the reason we crashed out. So I am going to blame him. I see what you're saying about the attackers. And, you know, yes, they should have finished their chances, particularly Alex Lacazette, who's an expert finisher, as they say. He should have taken more chances and we should have been more clinical. Right, that brings us to the end of the same old Arsenal extra time. Disappointed, feeling down, but you know what? Arsene Wenger's leaving, and so we can build on a new future, hopefully a positive one. And let's give him the send-off he deserves at the Emirates on Sunday, and put this all to one side. Get on with it. Enjoy the game Sunday. It'll be a lovely occasion. Give Wenger the applause and the praise he deserves for transforming this football club, because whatever you say, you can't deny that he's done that. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SameOldAFC. If you want to follow me, I'm at Harry Symeou. That's SYMEOU. Until next time, take care.